Donald Trump announced the implementation of Liberation Day tariffs on Wednesday, introducing a 10% baseline tariff on all imports. Nigel Farage has claimed Sir Keir Starmer is behaving like a Brexiteer with his stance on economic matters despite once being a strong advocate for a second referendum on the UK's membership in the EU. Mr Farage argued that Sir Keir's Labour Party had shifted its position on key issues like trade and tariffs imposed by US President Donald Trump, now behaving in a way which resembled pro-Brexit policies. Mr Farage said, "Trump said he'd put tariffs on, he was elected to do that, and of course he's put us in the lowest tier. Interestingly, EU 20%, UK 10%. I'm not pretending 10% is good, it's just less bad than it would have been without Brexit." He went on to suggest that the UK's post-Brexit trade relationship with the US could still be improved if the government acted more decisively. He told GB News, "I think we should go much further than that. I sat down face-to-face with Trump in 2017. We want to do a deal with you guys. I want to show the world I believe in trade if it's fair, if it's right, if it's good for both sides. But of course, we didn't do a deal. Why? Because the Conservatives didn't take us out of the European Union." Mr Trump on Tuesday announced the implementation of new reciprocal tariffs under the TAD 760 regime. These measures include a baseline 10% tariff on all imports, with significantly higher rates for countries identified as bad actors in trade. Notably, China faces a 34% tariff, Vietnam 46% and the EU 20%, but the UK is on 10%. Mr Trump justified these tariffs as necessary to reduce the national trade deficit and bolster US industry. However, it represents a significant shift toward protectionism, with potential implications for global trade dynamics. Economic analysts warn that these policies could lead to increased consumer prices and strain international relations. While Mr Farage acknowledged that tariffs were a concern, he also suggested that Brexit had softened the blow, explaining, "It's just less bad than it would have been without Brexit." Mr Farage also highlighted what he saw as Prime Minister Sir Keir's shift towards a more hardline Brexit position. "It's very interesting for a Labour government being led by a Prime Minister who wanted a second referendum. They're now actually behaving a bit more like Brexiteers. They're using the powers Brexit gave them on this and also on foreign policy. Brexit has benefited this Prime Minister." In his comments, Mr Farage also pointed out that the Labour leadership was becoming more aligned with Brexit policies in certain areas, including trade. He explained, "What's really interesting is that in the first term I spoke to the White House quite a lot. In this term, I haven't, because I can't be seen to interfere unless the government wants me to be useful." Sir Keir's position on tariffs and international relations has evolved in recent months. Speaking last month on tariffs imposed by the US on steel and aluminium, Sir Keir said, "Obviously I'm disappointed to see global tariffs in relation to steel and aluminium. But I'm going to take a pragmatic response to this, because we are negotiating and talking about an economic deal and agreement as we speak." Ministers have insisted they will respond with cool and calm heads, but are keeping all options open, including the possibility of retaliatory tariffs on a range of American goods. An indicative list published by the government showed products that could be targeted, including bourbon whiskey, motorcycles, guitars and jeans. But an immediate response is unlikely, as Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds told MPs he would hold a 4-week consultation on retaliatory action. The government still hopes for an economic deal with the US to secure some exemption from the tariffs, with Sir Keir promising businesses on Thursday that he would fight for the best deal for Britain. The PM has faced criticism from some quarters for his shifting stance on Brexit. Initially campaigning for a second referendum, Sir Keir's rhetoric has shifted in recent years, as Labour seeks to balance the views of its traditionally pro-European base with the realities of post-Brexit Britain. Labour has also distanced itself from the earlier push for a second referendum, focusing more on the potential of post-Brexit economic agreements, even as some members of the party continue to advocate for a closer relationship with the EU.